Hello friends, welcome to our channel. Today we are going to discuss about roadmap to become DevOps engineer, how you can become a DevOps engineer, whether you are a fresher or you have some industry experience or you want to switch your career in the industry. Okay, so this video is going to helpful for everyone. Okay, so let's start. Okay, if you are a fresher, then basically what you need to learn basically, so first thing that you need to know is Linux fundamentals. So you should have the knowledge about basics Linux commands, how to work in Linux, how to basically use Linux system, and basically you should be familiar and some basic knowledge. It's not required that you need to be expert. Initially, on initial level you can have a basic knowledge about the Linux fundamental, and if you are already in the industry, so of course you would be having already the idea. So freshers need to start from Linux fundamentals, but someone is already in the industry, he can skip this because he may be having already the idea about Linux fundamentals. Next thing comes to the scripting. As a DevOps engineer, you will need to know about the scripting, basically because you will need to automate some of the tasks. So you should have the idea how to do the scripting. It's not mandatory to have, but it's always good to have the knowledge about the scripting. So if you have a basic idea about the scripting, you can still survive in the DevOps. Okay, so you should work on the scriptings. Okay, and mainly either you have the knowledge about the bash or shell scripting or Python scripting. Okay, if you have a very good knowledge in the scripting or commands over the scripting, of course it's an added advantage, and you will have more progress or prosperous DevOps career. Okay, so freshers need to have the basic knowledge about the scripting, and whoever already in the industry, maybe working as a system engineer or QA, will already have some basic understanding about the scripting and Linux fundamentals, so they can skip this. But fresher should continue. Okay, the next thing that comes in the roadmap is database. So basically you need to have the basic knowledge about the database, how they work. Okay, mainly there are two types of the databases that are used as a DevOps engineer. There are multiple kind of database, but mainly two, that is SQL and NoSQL. In SQL, basically SQL, basically SQL Server, PostgreDB or MySQL. In NoSQL, basically it could be MongoDB. So having the knowledge about or basic idea about any of these databases will be good for you. Okay, so freshers can start with any of the database. Maybe they studied in their college during their education, or maybe if they have never studied, so they can go through it. And basically they need to have the basic understanding how database work, what all the different kind of operations that can be performed. So a basic idea is required. So all these three tasks, that's Linux fundamental, scripting and database, these are the tasks that you should know, you should have the idea about it. Okay, and if you are already in the industry, so you'd be already knowing it. If you are a system engineer or QA, most probably you will already have the idea about these tools. Okay, so you already knows up to here. So the next tool is version control tool. So in version control, basically in industry there are mainly two types. Two tools are more popular, that is Git and SVN. Most of the people in the industry are using Git. However, some are using SVN as well. So version control is basically the tool for versioning. This is used when in the case where multiple developers are working or multiple people are working, so to manage the version and the changes in the codes, for that purpose version control is used. Okay, next one is repository. Repository is a place basically where your code is going to be stored, code repository. Okay, and in the code repository, basically in the industry mainly two repositories are used, that is GitHub and Bitbucket. So both are having their own advantages, and both are equivalent, I would say, and used and in the industry. So you can work and get the knowledge about any of them, either GitHub or Bitbucket. Okay. After this, basically, you need to know about the automation, because this is the main task of any DevOps engineer. Okay. So for that purpose, basically, you can use two tools that are available. There are multiple tools that are available in the industry. However, most widely used tool is Jenkins, and nowadays GitHub Actions are also getting popularity. So you can work on any of these tools, and you can get the exposure on any of these tools, and then basically you can get the experience as an automation. Okay. Next thing is Docker. Basically, Docker is used for containerization. So you should have the basic knowledge about Docker, how a Docker file is getting created, how a Docker image is getting created, and how we use the Docker image, and how it gets stored in the Docker registry, basically, or any private registry. So you should have the knowledge about it, and then basically you need to have the understanding about the Kubernetes or Docker Swarm. That is basically container orchestration tools. Okay. So you can use either Docker Swarm or Kubernetes, but in industry, most widely used one is Kubernetes. So you can go with Kubernetes, I would say. Okay. And then the next tool that comes into the picture, and nowadays have very wide demand, that is cloud. So you should have the knowledge about the cloud. If we go back like 1 or 2 years back, there was no requirement for the cloud, basically, for a DevOps engineer. Okay, cloud engineers were having the requirements, but in the industry, but for a DevOps engineer, it's not mandatory. But nowadays, it's somehow becoming mandatory. As a DevOps engineer, you should have the knowledge about the cloud also. Okay, so you can go and get some exposure towards the cloud, especially public cloud. Okay, in the market, basically, mainly three market leaders are available. That is Google Cloud, Amazon Cloud, that is AWS, or Microsoft Azure. Okay, so you can go with any of these three clouds and get the exposure. And if you know more than one, basically you can become a multi-cloud expert also, who is going to have the more demand in the industry. But at least you should know one cloud platform, how it works, and you need to have somewhat exposure on it. Okay, so you should next learn basically the cloud is nowadays becoming essential part of a DevOps engineer. Okay, after the cloud, basically, next thing is to become expert in DevOps, basically, and that is IaaC, that is infrastructure as a code. So you are able to do your code using various consoles. But actually, if you are a pro, or I would say, if you want to become an expert in DevOps, basically, then you should have the knowledge about infrastructure as a code tools. Okay, so in market, basically, there are two types of tool. One is infrastructure management tool, and second one is configuration management tools. Okay, in for infrastructure management tool, basically, in the industry, most widely and undisputedly used is Terraform. Okay, so you should get somewhat exposure in the Terraform. And the next one is configuration management tool. So for configuration management tool, basically you have various variety of the options like Ansible, SAF, Puppet, or Salt Stack. Okay, so you can get exposure in any of these. So that's it. These were the some tools that you need to learn to become a DevOps engineer in the industry. Okay. Okay, so you should go with it. And if you are a fresher, then initial you need to start with Linux, basic knowledge about the scripting, databases. Okay, and from the next one is that version controls and the repository management idea. Okay, and then of course it goes to the pure DevOps things, that is automation using Jenkins or GitHub Actions, then cloud knowledge and Dockers, Kubernetes. Okay, so that's the pure DevOps work. And then if you want to become pro in the DevOps, then you need to learn uh, Terraform or Ansible. Okay, so that's the roadmap. Thank you, and please, if you like the video, please like it, subscribe the channel and share with your friends.